now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for November the 19th. Well, it's quite quiet here across the wide world of tropics on day 323 of the year. We don't have too much longer of 2021 to go. So far, we've had 87 storms form, and it doesn't look like we're going to be getting any closer to that average mark of 92 with the current areas of interest. Let's get right into the basins, starting off in the Atlantic as always on day 171 of hurricane season. 11 days left of hurricane season, and the models really are not predicting anything forming here for the rest of the season. As far as they go, I believe the ensembles now go to December the 2nd. So all is looking clear there for tropical cyclone formation. It's a similar case here in the Eastern Pacific on day 186 of hurricane season. The models are pretty much saying the same thing. The season is looking to be dead now for the rest of the season, and of course in the Central Pacific. I mean, Hone is not going to form this year. Maybe for a Christmas surprise. I don't think so though. In the Western Pacific, the models were depicting earlier this week that we could see some formation. They have dropped that off, and right now we're looking all quiet here. It's a different story though. In the Indian Ocean, we do have 92B coming into India, bringing some heavy rain with it, and 93A is meandering around in the Arabian Sea. Low chance of formation at this time. And as we get to the satellite imagery across the world, the Atlantic basin is generally quiet. We can see a little frontal system moving through the eastern half of the United States there, and some rainfall in the Bahamas and South Florida. We have had some significant flooding there, which is not good news, not something we want to hear at all. But at least we don't have any hurricanes happening similar to last year in November. In the Eastern Pacific, as the sun starts to come down, it's fairly quiet here as well. Just some general thunderstorms way out there in the open Pacific Ocean. Not really too much of any concern. In the Western Pacific, we do have a bit of a big complex of thunderstorms, which is a bit of a difference from the other basins. Right there, east of Taiwan, south of Japan, you can see that. That is not going to become a tropical cyclone. It's just not going to. And we do have a little bit of thunderstorm activity in the South China Sea heading towards Vietnam. And as we head towards the Indian Ocean, which is our next stop, we can see both of our invests here. The circulation of 92B that it had developed is now detached from the thunderstorms. It's now exposed. So that's why the JTWC canceled their TCFA, and 93A is blowing up a little bit of convection. And for a custom loop tonight, as there's really nothing else to look at across the world, welcome to Australia as the sun rises on Friday. It's going to be a hot one for some, but overall looking like a pretty nice Friday here in Australia. Looking at the sea surface temperatures next across the Eastern Pacific and Central Pacific, we're looking actually pretty warm, especially along the coast of Mexico. It's just this time of year the environmental conditions do not favor tropical cyclone formation, which, as you can understand, is why the season ends at November 30th. In the Atlantic Basin, we can see the sea surface temperatures are quite warm, especially in the Caribbean and where that loop current goes into the Gulf of Mexico. But the environmental conditions, again, same case in the Eastern Pacific, just not going to be favorable for tropical cyclone formation. As we get to the Indian Ocean, here's where our two invests are. For 92B, it really doesn't matter at this point. It's moving inland. And for 93A, it's fairly warm. It is actually a bit getting towards below average in the Arabian Sea, which we'll look at in just a moment here. The Western Pacific is still generally above average. As you can see there, it's quite warm there. The question is, will we actually get any cyclones between now and the end of the year? We'll have to find out as that time comes. And if you look towards the southern hemisphere there, you can see where the tropical cyclones are forming, or would be forming in the cyclone season. They're prepped and ready. Here's across the world, you can see generally we're above average for the majority of the world, with a few exceptions where the La Nina is taking place, and that also spreads into portions of the Eastern and Central Pacific and all the way up into the Gulf of Alaska, and maybe even portions of the South Atlantic Ocean, but generally above average across the world. As we go to the On This Day section, we're moving to 1998, and you might be looking at this map and thinking, there's not really many strong storms. What's this on this day for? Well, this is a perfect example of a storm that didn't grow to be real strong at all, but caused tremendous amounts of rainfall and unfortunately took the lives of many. Tropical Storm Don was making landfall in Vietnam on this day. It dumped a total of 977 millimeters of rain, and that would equate to 38.7 inches, and unfortunately took over 100 lives in that storm. So quite a disastrous storm, and I'm so glad we don't have anything like that going on today. As we get to the naming list, we can see the Atlantic Basin is still sitting there looking at Adria. It's thinking, do I want you to form? Don't worry, Atlantic, you don't have to form Adria. In the Eastern Pacific, we're looking out for Vivian and Waldo. I'm not even going to say the Central Pacific, you know what it is. In the Western Pacific, we're in a bit of a quiet spell right now. I don't really know if we're going to have any more storms before December, maybe even not in December. The next two names here are Neato and Rai, and in the North Indian Ocean we're looking out for Jawad followed by Asanai. We're so close to getting Jawad. In the Australian region, the next two names here are Paddy and Ruby. In the Southwest Indian Ocean, we're looking out for Anna followed by Batsarai. And in the South Pacific, we're looking out for Cody followed by Dovi.